Good morning, iWaited family. This is Mimi. I am the founder and lead blogger at iWaitedblog.com. And so today we're coming back with another edition of iWaited Devotional Wednesday. So we're going to continue on with the changing the narrative kind of series thing I'm doing. I didn't expect to do a series, but it's kind of turned into a series for me. God has just been giving me different things to talk about. So I'm really excited about this one today. So as you're coming in, if you could just share the broadcast with your friends and your family. And if you're watching the replay, still share, comment, give likes, all that good stuff. So I'm going to, as usual, go ahead and share on my own personal page, and give people a second to kind of come in. And as you're coming in, share, comment, say good morning, where you're watching from, if you're on your way to work, all that good stuff. So just let me know how you guys are doing. I'm really excited about just what God is doing through the blog and through all of the things that He's given me to do. So yeah, this is really awesome. I'm excited. So let's see. I'm sharing on my timeline. Cool. All right, cool. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So we've been talking about changing the narratives. So one of the things we talked about was changing the narrative and how you speak, the things that you say, and also changing the narrative and learning how to receive. So this week, I wanted to talk about changing the narrative in standing up for your bloodline. So last week, I made a post. It was last week. I made a post just basically about how, when people don't understand your purpose, they don't understand like why you go so hard spiritually. But when you understand the fight and the battles that you're up against, then you have to then go deeper spiritually, go deeper in your prayer life, and go deeper in the things that you do for God, go deeper in the way that you seek God. And so, I know the things that my family bloodline is up against. So, and I've learned, I didn't always know, excuse me, I didn't always know what my family battled, what the patterns that were in my family. But once I started to look around, I'm like, yeah, so my mom went through this, my aunts are going through this, now it's trickling down to my siblings, and my dad went through this and that, whatever. So it just got me to a place where I was like, dude, I have to be different. I have to be different if I want to change things in my life, in my family's life, in my siblings' lives, in my children's lives, my future children. So I started to just pray and ask God to change me and change the way that I do things, and be the difference maker in my family and be the change agent in my family. And so recently I got an offer to get Sirius Radio in my car, and Sirius Radio, like with all those different channels. And I found the Joel Osteen channel. So I was listening to his channel like every day. It was just on my car always. And listen, I was like, oh, he's like pretty good. I've never really listened to Joel Osteen, but listening to his messages, I realized like he's really a man of faith. Like he's really, he really believes God, and he just, he just talks about how he always inserts God in everything that he does, and he always walks by faith. And so there's been a couple times where he's talked about how his dad, John Osteen, who's now passed away, grew up poor. They grew up dirt poor. His parents were, I think, farmers or something. And they just grew up poor. And they just always thought like, hey, we're always going to be poor. Just accept your lot in life and nothing's going to be different. And he said his dad just at some point when he got saved, at some point, he started working and then he got saved at around, I think, 17, 18. And his dad just got it in him like, hey, I can be different. There can be something different with my life. And he talks about how his dad's parents were like, hey, you're doing too much. We're always going to be poor. This is just the way it is. Like, accept it. And his dad, something in him was like, no, there's more, there's different, and I can be different so that life can be different from my own family. And so he even talked about how his dad his thinking was just different from his whole family. So he changed his life in that way. And then once he started a church, he realized like, hey, we can walk by faith. We can speak those things that be not as though they are. And he got ousted from his church, from his what is it called? Denomination. So I didn't realize like denominations have like these really rigid rules and people really follow them. Like if you go outside of the rules, because I wasn't raised in like denomination, so I don't know like those rules and things like that. But he got ousted out of the denomination that he was in because it was like, dude, you're talking this faith stuff. You're believing in the Holy Ghost. You're speaking in tongues. Like, this is just too much. You need to go do something else and start your own church. So he literally had to leave the denomination he was in and start another church. But you can tell because Joel Osteen's dad stood up and did something different. Look at the manifestation of the blessings that is on his bloodline, starting from John Osteen on down. Like, just the way that Joel Osteen walks in faith, he talks faith, he speaks faith, he prophesies faith over his people, over his church, and how they're prospering, all because his dad decided to do something different, decided that, hey, there's more to life than farming and being poor and not being able to feed your family. And his dad literally changed the course of their family. Like Joel Osteen said in one of his sermons, he said, because of my dad now, you know how in the Bible it says Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, like their lineage was just blessed. It's going to be John, Joel, and Jonathan Osteen. Their lineage is blessed from that point on. And I just think that's so awesome how one man stood up for his family and he's changed literally the course of the bloodline. And I believe that's what God is asking us to do, to change the course of our bloodline. And I believe that I'm the person to change the course of my bloodline, and me and my siblings, because we have that power, that authority to do that. You know, and one of the ways, there's a few ways that we can how do we stand up for our bloodline? So the first way is to take inventory of the patterns in your family. So I took inventory of the patterns in my family. So in my family, people just don't get married. Like, just don't get married. So my mom didn't get married. Well, she got married, but she got married to a man that God clearly told her not to get married to. So my mom hadn't been married by that point, she had already had 6 kids out of wedlock. And then she got married to a man, but she said specifically, like, she had a dream where God showed her, this is what your life is going to be like if you marry this man. And she still went ahead with the marriage. My dad has never been married. So I have like 13 siblings altogether. So my mom had 6 kids total, including me. And then my dad has 8, including me, I think. So none of my siblings are born into wedlock. None of my niece, I have 7 or 8 nephews. None of them are born into wedlock. I have, I think 5 or 6 nieces. None of them are born into wedlock. So the pattern has continued into me and my siblings' generation. But how many know that it stops with me? So even my family, whenever I'm home on either side of my family, and people are like, hey, when are you going to have kids? My answer is always the same. When I get married. I said, I am not anyone's wife right now, and therefore I'm not having anyone's kid until I am married. And so, and my family, I think at this point knows that answer. And you have to be the person that says, hey, I'm going to do things differently. Yes, I know I have a lot of nieces and nephews that are born out of wedlock, but it stops with me. I will not add another kid to this family that's born out of wedlock. I'm not going to do it. So you have to take inventory of the patterns in your life. So if the men are abusers, or they don't respect women, or you know, people don't like to work in your family, or if poverty is a pattern, or if perversion and lust is a pattern, if stealing and lying is a pattern, you have to take inventory of those things and say, it stops with me. If you read in the Bible, where I was so surprised because I didn't even realize that Abraham lied about Sarah being his sister because he was afraid of being killed because she was so pretty. He did that in Genesis, what was it? Genesis 12 and 20. Genesis 12 and then Genesis 20 as well. He did it twice. Like, if a dude denied me twice, my husband, sir, we are over. O-V-E-R. Over. Like, he denied her twice. Like, seriously, come on, sir. So he did that. And then Isaac, his son, did the same thing with his wife, Rebecca. I was like, why are you guys lying? And why are you guys being cowards about the fact that your wife is beautiful? And if somebody decides to try to fight you for her, hello, fight. Stand up for your woman, sir. So yeah, twice Abraham denied Sarah, and then Isaac turned around and did the same thing and lied about Rebecca being his wife. So you see that even in the Bible, like, certain patterns like continue down the bloodline unless people stop them. Unless people stand up and say, like, hey, I'm the one that's going to be different. I'm different, and I'm not going to do things the same way. So number one, you take inventory of the patterns in your life, and then two, you decide that these negative patterns stop with you. So it's literally a conscious decision that you make, like, I'm going to be the difference maker. So at some point, although when I decided to be abstinent, it wasn't because I wasn't thinking about my bloodline. I wasn't thinking about I'm going to be difference maker. I wasn't thinking about the fact that you know, I wasn't, like, I knew I didn't want to have any kids out of wedlock. I've known that forever. Like I always said in college, it's two things I don't want: STDs and babies. Like, that was my thing. But I didn't, when I decided to be abstinent, it wasn't because of my bloodline. But gradually I realized when I started looking around, because back then I didn't have any nieces or nephews. Like, none of my siblings, I think my brother had daughters, but other than that, none of my siblings had any kids. So I didn't, you know, think about my bloodline. But as things progressed and I started to look around and see and look at my family and look at my mom and look at my aunts, look at my dad and look at my uncles and my cousins, and I was like, dude, nobody's married. Nobody has made any type of covenant commitment in this bloodline. My grandparents, my mother's parents were married. I don't know if my dad's parents were married, but I had to literally take inventory, like, hey, I have to do something different. So at that point, when abstinence became a mission for me to change my bloodline, to change my life, to change the course of my family's life. And so my focus shifted, my mission shifted from me just doing it because I knew it was what God wanted me to do. It shifted to, I'm doing this for God, and I'm also doing this for my family. So you have to stand up and make a conscious decision. So your thing may not be lust and perversion like my family has dealt with for years. But it could be, you know, poverty. So you have to stand up and say, I'm going to be the one that's going to be the great manager of my money, that's going to save money, that's going to invest money, that's going to build wealth for our bloodline. So my thing is, I don't know of any inheritance in my family, but my children will have an inheritance. And I believe and I speak that my kids won't even have to work. They won't even have to use the money that they work for and live off of that they will be living off of my money, and my grandchildren will be living off my money, and that they will just continue to build wealth, and that it will literally roll over and roll over and roll over for generations, forever. So those are the things that I speak about. So I don't know about any inheritance, so I will build one. I don't know about, you know, so if your thing is poverty, your thing is building businesses or going further in life. Some people it's health. Some people, their family members die. Everybody dies at 50. You're going to be the one that goes and lives until 80, 90, 100. Because you're going to take care of your health. Some people, there's alcoholism in their family. So you have to be the one that stops the alcoholism and the drug use. There's so many things that plague our families, and we just kind of just roll with it. Some people just literally like, hey, that's what we always dealt with. We've always been liars. We've always been cheaters. We've always been addicts. So that's just my lot in life. No, it's not. It is not your lot in life. It is not God's will that you live a defeated life. It is his will that we live an abundant, like overly abundant, exceedingly abundant life. And so I really believe that you have the power. I have the power to change the narrative for my family. The first thing is you take inventory of the patterns in your family. Next thing is you decide that you're going to be the one that changes the negative patterns, that's going to stop with you. And the third thing is you commit to praying for your family and educating yourself and your family about the patterns. So I've committed to, and I've gotten off my post a lot, but I've committed to praying for my family, praying for my siblings, praying for my dad and my stepmom and my brothers and my nieces and my nephews, because there's so many people in my family. First of all, I think that's why I get so exhausted, because there's so many people in my family to pray for. Like I told you, I have 13 immediate siblings, and then I have 7 to 8 nephews, 5 to 6 nieces, and then that's not including cousins and extended family. So, it's really sometimes it gets kind of weird. It makes you kind of weary to pray for all those people. But I know I've made a commitment that I'm going to pray for my family, that things are going to change, and that my family is not going to suffer from the things, like my daughters are going to be raised with a father. My sons are going to have a father in the home that I am married to. And that they're going to see something different, and that we're going to live a different life. And that the things that, I've gone without as a kid, my kids will not go without. And so I've committed to praying about changing those patterns and also educating. So, my family, my siblings know my stance on purity and abstinence. And so they know that I believe that fornication is against the Bible, and I believe that you're supposed to be married. Now, do I go home and go, you guys need to be married and you guys need to stop having sex outside of marriage? No, I don't. My brothers can tell you I do not say that. Now, I do hit them sometimes with the you need to get married, because, hello, it's time for them to get married. But, just because they've been with their girlfriends and I know they love them and they're committed to them, so why not get married? The next step is getting married. But, I don't hit them over the head with all that stuff, because they already know where I stand. And when we have conversations, I'm clear about my stance on everything. And so you have to be committed to educating them and praying for them. And then the fourth thing is, do not judge. Just because we get it doesn't mean our family's going to immediately get it. Sometimes it takes you living that life, walking in the ways of God, and living under the convictions of the Holy Spirit, for your family to see that example, and then for there to be a change in them. So it's you planting seeds, allowing Holy Spirit to water them, and then allowing that harvest to be his harvest. So yeah, do not judge your family. Do not go around. I always give this example. Don't be the crackhead that got saved and got off crack and then go back to the crack house and then be, judging everyone else because they're still on crack. Hello, it's a process for everyone. So yeah, I really believe that we have the power, we have the authority. Like literally, we have the authority. He's given us authority to trample upon serpents and demons. And that includes the demonic forces that are in our bloodline, that have been cursing our bloodlines for years, centuries, generations, and no one has stood up yet. And it may be that they didn't know. I don't think my mom knew to stand up for her bloodline. I don't think my dad knew to stand up for his bloodline. I don't think my dad knows. My mom is deceased, but my dad is still alive. I don't think my dad knows to stand up for his bloodline. You know what I mean? So I have to be the person that prays. And I believe that this year I'm going to see the harvest of the souls in my own immediate bloodline. I pray for people and iWaited. I pray for people in church. I pray for people wherever. But I'm committed to praying for my own bloodline, because I have decreed in this earth that I will not leave the earth until I see every one of my family members saved, set free, delivered, and living for Christ. That is my declaration. I don't know about anybody else, but all my family's going to be saved. All my family's going to heaven, no matter what's going on right now, no matter what they say, no matter what they believe at this point. I don't care. So I don't even care when I see things in my family that's just like, man, dude, it's kind of frustrating and that's kind of whatever. I still believe that all of my family will be saved and all of my family will go to heaven. All of my family will live for Christ, and they will minister the gospel in whatever capacity. That doesn't mean they have to be a preacher or a minister, licensed minister, but in their capacity, whatever arena that they're in, that they will be a person that ministers for God and lives for Him fully and totally everywhere. So yeah, I really believe that we have that power, and I challenge you, even in this week, even starting today, to start praying for your family, to start warring for your family, to start fasting for your family. We don't realize the power of fasting, the power of denying your flesh, not fasting from social media, not fasting from whatever, music. Fasting, putting down your plate, turning down your plate, as Tiffany says, Tiffany Montgomery, and really going after God, going in and really seeking God's face about your family. So I commit every week, one day I have that I fast until at least 6 p.m. that day. And if I feel led to go the whole day. So you can fast just doing liquid fast, which means you can do pure juices, pure veggie juices, water, I think like liquid broths. Some people do water only fasts, where you just drink water the whole day. Some people do like a Daniel fast, which is where you do like the veggies, the grains, pure juices. And then there's what is called a dry fast, where you don't have anything at all day, and you're just praying. That's the most powerful fast you can do, where you don't drink water, you don't drink juice, you don't eat veggies, you don't eat nuts, you don't have apples, whatever, but you're literally like, sir, I need you, and this is urgent, and I need to see you and hear you today. So I'm challenging everyone that watches this video, listen, pray for your family, war for your family, war for yourself, war for the family that you don't have. I pray, now I understand to pray for the husband that I want, and now I understand to pray for the children that I will one day have. Because even before they manifest in this earth, before the children come into the earth, before I meet my husband, I need to be praying for them. I need to even know my husband by the Spirit. I need to know him by the Spirit, so I know that when I meet him, I'll know.